Okay, so let's talk about the vaccine. And I know that for many of you, you already know this, but for others, it might be important. So there are only 2 vaccines approved right now in the United States. More are on the way, but for now, there are only 2 vaccines approved. And they're both very similar to each other. And in fact, they work the same way. These are really sister vaccines. And fortunately, both of them are highly effective, meaning they work very well in preventing serious cases of COVID-19. And both of the vaccines require 2 shots, as your colleague mentioned. First vaccine approved was one called the Pfizer vaccine. Pfizer is a company that makes it. In that vaccine, you take 1 shot, then you wait 21 days, and then you get your second shot. And that's a vaccine that needs deep cold storage. So it's mainly available in places, in hospitals, large hospitals, or other places that have that kind of deep refrigeration. The Moderna vaccine is the one that our colleague Valerie was talking about, which was developed at the National Institute of Health. And in that one, you take 1 shot and you wait for 28 days, and then you take the second shot. And that one is more widely available in clinics because it just requires standard refrigeration. So very quickly, how do these vaccines work? This is the coronavirus. And as you can see, it has these spikes on it, which are part of what give it its name, like a crown in Spanish, corona. And then inside the coronavirus is the genetic information for the virus, what tells it to go ahead and make virus. What the vaccine did is that they took, what the makers did is that they took only a small portion of the genetic information, only this little red portion here, and then they put that into a little droplet of oil, and that's the vaccine. It's just a little bit of the messenger RNA, a little bit of the genetic information that codes for the spike of the coronavirus. When that goes into the arm, it enters the human muscle cell, and it sits there and starts making little spikes. And so those human muscle cells start having little spikes. And because of that, it teaches the body to recognize the coronavirus, anything with a spike. So what's important to realize is 2 things. This piece of protein, the mRNA, goes away within a number of days. It just dissolves in the cell. Second, it can't give you COVID because it doesn't contain the instructions for the whole virus, only for part of the virus. And third, it is way away. It's not near the nucleus. It doesn't enter the nucleus of the human cell where the human DNA is. So it can't affect the human DNA. Sometimes people say, oh, are we going to be mutants? Will the virus genetic information merge with the human information? And the answer is no, because they are in separate parts of the cell. All right, so how well does it work? Well, here are the results of the first trial, which was the Pfizer trial. 21,700 people got the real vaccine, and 21,700 people got a fake vaccine, what we call a placebo, which was just salt water. Among those 21,000 who got the real vaccine, there were 8 cases of COVID. Among the 21,000 who got the fake vaccine, the placebo, there were 162 cases of COVID. That means that is a huge difference. And it turns out that it means it protects around 95% of the cases. So the answer to how well does the vaccine work, the answer is it works really well. And the Moderna vaccine had similar results. What about safety? Well, with the first shot, people will have arm soreness and redness, similar to what you can get when you get any vaccine, certainly when you get the flu shot. And that goes away within a day or so with Tylenol. With the second shot, about half the people reported feeling tired and headaches, and about 11% reported fever with the second shot. And in general, 30% of those who got the vaccine felt like taking the day off the next day, okay? So that gives you a sense of those symptoms. By the day after that, people are feeling much better in general. Now, you'll all have heard that there are rare cases of treatable allergic reactions. And I believe that at least as of a few days ago, 29 cases of allergic reactions had been reported with over 14 million vaccines distributed. So it's rare, but it does occur. And that's why we ask people to wait 15 minutes before leaving the vaccine site, and people who have, to make sure they're not going to have an allergic reaction, and people who've had a history of severe allergy usually wait half an hour. But again, short-term safety is pretty good. And for most people, symptoms did not last very long and did not interfere with daily life. So what do we know? That the vaccine works really well. And because the trials were quite large, we were able to see that the efficacy, it works pretty well among people older than 65 as well as younger people, that it works in women as well as men, that it works in all the age groups, that was from 16 years up and up. And the trials were fortunately quite diverse. And we see that it works. There were over 10% African-American participants and about the same Latino participants. And we were able to see that the vaccines work among all the groups represented in the trials. They also seem to work among patients with obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, HIV, and other diseases. Well, what don't we know? This vaccine is new, and there's a lot we don't know, at least for yet. We don't know how well it prevents infection without symptoms. In other words, okay, if I'm vaccinated, I'm probably not going to get sick with COVID, but can I get the COVID virus replicating in my nose? And if so, can I transmit it to people even if I don't have any symptoms? There may be rare immediate side effects that we may not see, even though we're now with 14 million people vaccinated. I think we've probably seen them all. Pregnant women were not included in the trial, and that's true for most clinical trials in the US. So we don't have pregnancy data yet, though there were women who got pregnant during the trial and did just fine. The kids weren't included in the trial, so we don't have scientific evidence on kids yet. The Moderna vaccine included kids from 12 years old and up, but not younger kids. And then obviously the vaccine hasn't been around for the long term, so we don't know yet about long-term side effects. Though most vaccines do not cause long-term side effects, and the vaccines of this type, these mRNA vaccines, are considered particularly unlikely to cause long-term side effects. One of the crucial questions we all need answered is how long will the protection last from the vaccine? And are we going to be needing booster shots, particularly as the virus mutates, changes? So when people are thinking about the vaccine, they're trying to make the decision, is it right for them? And what I can encourage is for people to think about it this way. On one side, you have fear of the vaccine and the vaccine side effects. And on the other side, you have COVID-19 disease. And as we all know, sometimes COVID-19 disease is absolutely no big deal. People can have a positive test and have no symptoms or minimal symptoms. But as we also all know, 420,000 people have already died from this terrible disease. And it's hard to predict who's going to have what happen to them. So you have to balance the very rare side effects with the COVID-19 disease while making that decision about what's right for you. What is not going to change in the short time is the need to mask and socially distance. And the reason for that is that, as I explained, the vaccine is not 100%. It is in the 90s, but they were still 8 cases. So in order to protect yourself while there's still a lot of virus, we recommend using the mask. And second, we still don't know whether people who are vaccinated can transmit the virus to other people. We're going to know that, I think, in the next month or so, and that will help a lot. For now, we're going to stay vaccinated, but as more people get vaccinated, then I am hopeful that masks will come off and life will go back to normal. It's important for me to point out that the vaccine has already been paid for. So that means it's free to everyone in the United States. This was Operation Warp Speed. It was a huge investment made by the government, and the vaccine is free. And it's also important for me to point out that everyone can get the vaccine. There are no public charge issues for people who are permanent residents or people who are undocumented. And in sanctuary states, like my home state of California, it is completely illegal for the health system to share information with ICE. So we are telling all of our patients, no matter their documentation status, to come and get vaccinated. And this is me getting my vaccine. With the first dose, I got a sore arm. I took Tylenol the next day. By the day after that, I was fine. With my second dose, I got it on a Wednesday. I see patients on Thursday. I was feeling fine. I went in to see my patients and I did fine. But by Thursday afternoon, even though I stayed at work, I have to say I was feeling tired and a little bit crabby. And I tried to think, why am I crabby? And I realized that I was crabby because I just didn't feel right. I felt not myself. So I went home, had dinner, took some ibuprofen and went to bed. And by the next morning, I felt a lot better. That's just my personal experience and yours may vary, but I thought I would share.